I am Shirley Sandlin, Shirley Elmore Sandlin. I was born in Huntington, Arkansas in 1942. My father was Bishop Elmore, and he was a heavy equipment operator for Sebastian County until he left there and moved to California. I had moved out right after I graduated from high school and went to work for a bookkeeping service in San Diego. I went on a blind date, met Jack Sandlin, and we were married in December of 1960.
Tell me about your family, you and Jack raised.
Okay, we have 4 children. We lost our youngest son when he was 16. The others are all as well as could be expected after 50 to 60 years.
Now, we want to have you say on the camera that to acknowledge that you've agreed to let us use this interview for the Benton County Oral History Project, that we have your permission.
You do have my permission to use all that I say. Hopefully, we'll clean up my mistakes.
Okay. So tell me, where did you go to school where did you grow up and where did you go to school?
I went to Mansfield High School, well, Mansfield School, period, all 12 years. And at that point in time, I really needed to have gotten a job, but I graduated at 17. You couldn't get a job unless you were 18. So I had a job waiting for me in California and moved out to stay with my aunt and my grandparents and started working there.
So tell me, how did you end up in Benton County? Tell me the story that landed you in Benton County.
Well, I met a sailor, went on my first blind date, married the man, and once he got out of the Navy, we moved back to Arkansas, but the north half. And he is a native of Hiwassee. And we moved here and have remained for 60 years.
So, where did you move here and what was it like back then?
We moved to Bentonville, and much smaller, quieter, more rustic, and Walmart was not on the scene yet, but I did work for Walton offices whenever we first moved back, and they had 2 people in their office, but couldn't afford to hire another one full-time. So I just worked there during tax season for a short, maybe 3 months, and left. I went to work for manufacturing then because that was where the money was. I got a whole quarter an hour more. They did call me back and offered me a job, but like I said, that quarter an hour paid for the babysitter. So I remained other things until later, whenever I went to work for Cooper Communities as a supervisor of department, and then went to work for Parnell Construction Company because he was tired of me calling, wanting him to do something else at the house. That was in 1971. And from there, I went to work for Little Lawrence, McCollum, and Mixon. And then Benton County was paying as much as the attorney's office, and the hours was better sometimes. Therefore, I applied for and got the job as real estate supervisor in the assessor's office, and decided then to run for the office, not against the person that was there, but as soon as they left that office, I was going for it. I did quit the assessor's office and work for a reappraisal company during our first county-wide reappraisal, and I thought, okay, I was going to need that knowledge for the growth of the county. And so I spent 2 years working for the private reappraisal firm, and then went back and ran for the office. And I guess you could say the rest is history. I stayed there as the assessor with some really good staff for 20 years.
So tell me about who were some of your staff that really helped you during that 20 years?
Okay. Ada Cleveland was first a supervisor. Nell Buterball was over business, personal, and personal property. And then I was fortunate enough to get Dennis Patton, who ultimately became our mapper, and he remained there for the length of time that I was there. Unfortunately, I have lost several to death, and the county has had the ability, because of their leadership and training, that it's been well done. Benton County was one of the first in the state to put all of our information in digital format. And whenever I first took office, we had one computer that was hooked up to the mainframe. There was no such thing at that point of PCs. And we enjoyed getting all the data. As I told people before, I'm really a very lazy person. I didn't want to have to redraw and rewrite out, because every time there was a change. If I could get it in on the computer system to where we had all of the data that we need, then it'll be better forever. But I had a lot of good people. Some of them are still in the office. still working. One, a real knowledgeable, personable young lady that has been in the assessor's office now for 30 years. So,
Her name is?
her Lita Cleese. She didn't want a promotion. She liked what she was doing. That was her information whenever she has been approached several times, I think now, for promotions. She liked what she was doing. She did it and does it very well. But
Could you share your memories of some of the county judges, starting from whenever you first started on the court, and kind of walk through the ones you remember of the judges
when I
county
started
judges?
on the court or in the
I'm sorry, in the assessors and then on the court.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
assessor's office, my first judge was Al Norwood. And he retired, and Bruce Rutherford was the next one.
Tell me what you remember about, what were they like? What was their personalities like? What do you remember of Judge Rutherford?
Judge Rutherford was a mentality of what he was trained to be, and that was a sheriff or a deputy, a police officer. My highest compliment from Bruce was he could work with me because I didn't think like a woman.
What do you mean by that?
Well, he asked me if I would work with him on getting the value changed on one of his cars. It was a collector's. And I told him, no, that value was there. And if he wanted to sell it, he would certainly want at least that. And he said, well, you could though. And I said, I could, but I won't because that's not right. He took it from me. Others he did not care for their logics. But that's face up, heads down.
So who was next after Rutherford that you remember as the judge?
Okay. There's been several judges. Let's see, after
Who are some of the ones that stand out? Other judges you remember are?
there was Clyde Cummings. There was Gary Anderson. There was Gary Black.
Tell me about Gary Black. What was Gary Black like? Gary Black was...
He and I enjoyed each other, harassment and all. Neither one of us took anything above seriously, but a standard hassle just because.
Give me an example. What do you mean by that?
Well, since I had one of the largest staff in the building, the administration building, then periodically someone else would want me to share that space. I said, if you can find me more space, I'll talk about it. But no. And he would say, but you know I can do that. I said, I know you can, but you won't because you want my work out. And he was good to work with as far as I was concerned. He worked hard at getting the job done. Benton County has, for a long time, had issues with trying to keep up with our growth. And We've never had, we tried to get additional money through elections, etc. And most of the time we got turned down. I can remember when they was getting things lined up for the county jail expansion, and I was told that it was voted down because there was diagrams of a fountain between two buildings, and they didn't want a Taj Mahal built. I said that was just an architect's design to show the definition and space between two buildings. Ultimately, they did get that passed. But overall, there's been a lot of change in Benton County in the 20 years I was there. I think most of it for the good. We've had a lot of growth, a lot of changes in not just in Bentonville or Rogers, but across the entire county. So
You mentioned that you lived in Bentonville at the time.
yes.
And you're what about some of the changes they've made in Bentonville? I know Mayor Coberly back in the day was planning things that we're seeing now, that are the projects that are just now getting done.
Oh yeah. And I can back up further, whenever Ernie Lawrence was was the mayor for a short period of time. We had, and if I'm not mistaken, Clayton Little was also. The changes in Bentonville, well, there was changes prior to the growth of Walmart. But, of course, they have been vastly enhanced overall. Of course, the ones of us that have been here forever, or it seems, there's a lot of inconvenience that goes with growth. The changes in the streets, the utilities, looking for a new way around these detour signs. But overall, we've been blessed with a lot of progressive leadership.
Anything else you can think of about the county government that you want to talk about? Who are some of the other officials, maybe, over the years? You were there a long time. Did you develop friendships? And
I think almost all of the elected officials got along very well. Was there squabbles at times? You bet. There's people, there's squabbles. But nothing serious. We had one elected official that was, well, actually, we've had two. One judge, one sheriff that was asked to resign. But we've overall been fortunate. We've had 2 deaths, and again, we've had good replacements.
let's talk about way back in the day when you first ran for assessor. In the state of Arkansas, how many Democrats and Republicans were there in the office? Talk about what that was like back then when I was elected?
When I was elected, I was the only Republican assessor in the state. I did invite the speaker at that point in time that if he would clean up his act, we would let him be a Republican too. But no,
Who was that?
I can't remember his last name right now.
Oh,
Larry, I know.
anyway, don't let me interrupt your story. But so how has that changed over the years? Talk about your memory of the switch from Benton County. Were they one of the first counties in the state to switch to Republican?
I would say yes. Whenever I first started visiting in the quorum court, I want to say there was like 3 Republicans, and now there may be 3 Democrats. I really don't. I will say this. At one point in time, one of the quorum court members had moved out of the area, and they was appointing someone to finish out that term. And they was saying, well, they couldn't appoint this person because they were a Republican, and therefore there had to be another one to replace them. And they said, doesn't matter. This is the quorum court. We are here for all the people. And the Democrat at that point in time was chastised for making a decision based on party rather than qualifications. And I was thrilled to hear that. It bode well for Benton County.
So are a lot of the issues that the quorum court deals with, are they essentially nonpartisan issues?
Yes. It has nothing to do. It has to do with either budget or enhancing the activities and the requirements of the county as a whole. It is not a partisan thing. And it always made me proud of the county that we're not blinded as political animals. Yes, you are listed down and you run as, and you try to represent your party well, but ultimately it's Benton County that you care about.
Tell me about some of your successes over the years. What are some of the things that you accomplished that you were proud of as first in elected office there at the county?
I was proud, one, that we got computers. Whenever I took office, now, maybe back up just a bit, the assessor's office is responsible for locating and placing value on all property in the county. And doing that, it takes a lot of detail. But our computer system that the county had at that time could handle 100 characters for the real estate description. That included commas and dashes. It had another 100 for the name, address, and school district. There was just enough information there to generate a tax bill. That was it. If everything else was hand-drawn, like the buildings, any other detail that you wanted, so there was extra papers attached. One of the first things we spent $5,000 to get a PC and a printer. Not the kind of printer we have now, but we used it first in business personal because there's a lot of detail in that you have to recopy every time or once a year. And so that was our first big project. As soon as got that pretty well lined up, started on real estate. Like I said, everything was hand-drawn and written out by hand on each card representing a property, until we could not find a program that would hold and accomplish things. I conned a person, actually 2 people originally, to work at trying to come up with a program that retained the information we put in. And over the course of the next few years, it was rewritten down to each thing that the real estate records that was provided. I had them do. They said, well, we don't need any of this. I said, no, I think I need a fudge factor, because there's always going to be something that doesn't fit in one of these little notches. Therefore, I want something that I can do to make it more correct for the property. So, fortunately or unfortunately, it kind of got passed on over the years as Shirley's fudge factor. But it worked.
Let's talk just for a minute about the unbelievable growth of Benton County. And you said that was always a challenge for the court. You're always chasing the growth. Talk about how that's been a constant challenge.
Well, when I first remember tracking anything, I want to say that the population count and the parcel count was within 10,000 of each other. In other words, there was less than 80,000. And I have no idea, since I've been away from it now for, 12, 14 years, just how much change. But I do know that the last I heard, it was about twice the amount of parcels as the population. And Lord knows our population has more than doubled. And at one count, I know that there was supposed to be over 100,000 people in Bentonville.
Is there anything else you can think of, any old stories or memories that come up from your time with the county or on the court that you want to share?
Well, I'm sure there is, but they're not right out front now.
Well, let me ask you this. If you had to tell somebody who'd never been to Benton County, what Benton County is like, what would you tell them? Benton County is?
It's progressive. I know that as one of my children made the comment that if they just moved here or came through to visit, it seems like a nice little community. However, if you have been here since it was little, it seems awfully congested with lots of growth. I could give us one example. I've been in the same house now for over 50 years. And at the edge of, the next street over from our pride, whenever we built the house there was a farmhouse, 2 chicken houses, and we had to give consideration which way the wind was blowing before we cooked outside. The chicken houses and the farmhouse have given away to a shopping strip and 2 apartment construction areas and some other commercial properties. So that's some of the changes in one small area.
Tell me the story of how many times have people come to your door wanting to buy your house or send you letters, just to share some of the stories.
Oh, we'll see. As an average, I get maybe 2 slow week, 2 calls or visits wanting to know if I would be interested in selling my property. And I said, no, I've been here for a long time and I plan on staying here. And I said, well, you have a vacant lot. Would you be interested in selling that? I said, nope, that goes with the house. And my kids have been there whenever they come by. And don't sell, Mom. So it's a family thing. We like our corner, and it's been good to us.
Finish this sentence for me and restate it. My favorite thing about Benton County is?
My favorite thing about Benton County is it's a good place. We are progressive. I haven't seen oppressive. For the most part, if it's not real great, it must be those people moving in. But no, it's a good community. I've been proud to be here for over 60 years.
Anything else you want to share before we finish?
No, I would hope that whoever hears or sees this will look for the good stuff, because you can always find it if you look.